true mental toughness, and because of that, they will break under pressure when life tests them. But you are not most people. You have a choice. Remain at the mercy of fear and failure, or forge an unshakable mind that commands victory in every battle. Strength isn't handed out. It is forged through fire. Decide now, will you collapse when life strikes, or will you rise, relentless, fearless, and unstoppable? In a few moments, you will learn how to forge unstoppable mental toughness and rise above every challenge life throws at you. The power of mental toughness. What separates the extraordinary from the ordinary? What makes certain individuals rise above circumstances while others remain trapped by them? The answer lies not in external conditions, but in the quality of mental toughness. Mental toughness is that rare quality of mind which transforms ordinary men and women into champions, leaders, and pioneers who reshape the world around them. Mental toughness is the bedrock upon which all great achievement is built. Without it, talent remains undeveloped, opportunities go unseized, and dreams wither on the vine of indecision. But with it, seemingly impossible goals become not only possible, but inevitable. Mental toughness is the force that propels you forward when every fiber of your being screams for retreat. Why is mental toughness so vital to your success? Because life will test you. The road to any worthy achievement is paved with obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Those without mental fortitude abandon their goals at the first sign of resistance. They surrender their dreams to the tyranny of momentary discomfort. But you are different. You understand that discomfort is the price of growth, that resistance builds strength, and that every obstacle overcome brings you closer to your ultimate objective. Developing mental toughness begins with a fundamental decision: to take complete responsibility for your life and its outcomes. No more excuses. No more blaming circumstances or other people. From this moment forward, you are the author of your destiny, the sculptor of your future. This mindset shift is both liberating and empowering, for it places the power to change squarely in your hands. How do you cultivate this mindset? Begin by challenging yourself daily. Step outside your comfort zone deliberately and with purpose. Start small if necessary, but start today. Whether it's waking up earlier, having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding, or pushing yourself through one more repetition in your workout when your muscles scream for relief, each small victory builds the mental muscle required for greater achievements. Thomas Edison, whose persistence in the face of thousands of failed attempts to create the electric light bulb, exemplifies mental toughness in action. When asked about his numerous failures, he famously remarked that he had not failed, but had successfully found thousands of ways that wouldn't work. Each failure brought him one step closer to success. This is the essence of mental toughness, the ability to reframe setbacks as stepping stones. Mental toughness also requires a certain immunity to the opinions of others. When John F. Kennedy announced the ambitious goal of landing a man on the moon within a decade, many thought it impossible. Yet his vision and resolve remained unshaken by criticism or doubt. He understood that great achievement often begins with goals that others consider unreasonable or unattainable. Remember, mental toughness is not about being harsh or unfeeling. Rather, it's about developing the inner strength to pursue your highest goals despite fear, uncertainty, or temporary discomfort. It's about building the resilience to rise after every fall, stronger and more determined than before. It's about nurturing the unwavering belief that you will prevail, regardless of current circumstances. As you embark on this journey toward unstoppable mental toughness, know that every challenge you face is an opportunity to strengthen your mind. Every problem solved is proof of your growing capability. Every moment of discomfort embraced is a deposit in the bank of your character. The mental toughness you develop today will serve you in every area of your life, transforming not just what you can achieve, but who you become in the process. Establishing your life purpose. Do you know why some individuals seem to possess inexhaustible energy and determination while others drift through life without direction? The difference lies in having a definite purpose, a compelling vision that pulls you forward through every obstacle and setback. Without purpose, mental toughness lacks direction. With purpose, it becomes an unstoppable force. Your life purpose acts as the North Star of your existence, guiding your decisions, focusing your efforts, and infusing your daily actions with meaning. When you operate with purpose, ordinary tasks take on extraordinary significance. Work becomes not merely labor, but a mission. Challenges become not burdens, but opportunities to demonstrate your commitment to something greater than momentary comfort or convenience. Why is establishing a clear purpose so essential to developing mental toughness? Because purpose provides the emotional fuel that powers persistence. When difficulties arise, as they inevitably will, it is your purpose that will sustain you. When others quit, your purpose will propel you forward. When temptation to take the easy path appears, your purpose will keep you true to the path of growth and achievement. The most mentally tough individuals throughout history have been driven by purposes larger than themselves. Their greatness stemmed not from superior talent or fortunate circumstances, but from the clarity and intensity of their definite aim. They knew exactly what they wanted to achieve and why it mattered, not just to themselves, but to others and to the world. How do you discover and establish your life purpose? Begin by asking yourself these penetrating questions. What activities engage you so completely that you lose track of time? What injustices or problems in the world trigger your strongest emotional responses? What achievements would fill you with genuine pride at the end of your life? The intersection of your talents, passions, and the needs of the world often reveals your purpose. Once you identify the general direction of your purpose, make it definite and specific. Vague aspirations produce vague results. Define your purpose with such clarity that you could explain it to a child. Then write it down and read it daily, allowing it to seep into your subconscious mind and influence your thinking at the deepest level. Walt Disney, who maintained his vision of creating the world's greatest entertainment experiences despite numerous failures and setbacks. Early in his career, he faced bankruptcy and was told he lacked creative talent. Yet his purpose, to bring joy through storytelling and innovation, remained unshaken. This clear purpose enabled him to persevere when others would have abandoned their dreams. Your purpose need not involve changing the world on a grand scale. This might involve being the best parent possible, building a business that serves your community with excellence, or developing expertise that solves important problems. What matters is not the size of your purpose, but its authenticity and its power to inspire your best efforts. As you clarify your purpose, you'll notice an immediate strengthening of your mental resilience. Tasks that once seemed difficult become manageable when viewed through the lens of purpose. Sacrifices that once felt burdensome become meaningful investments in your vision. The opinions and criticisms of others lose their power to discourage you because you measure your decisions against your purpose, not against social approval. Remember, establishing your life purpose is not a one-time event, but an evolving process. As you grow and gain experience, your purpose may deepen or expand. Remain open to this evolution while maintaining absolute commitment to your core values and vision. In doing so, you create the foundation for unstoppable mental toughness, a toughness directed toward ends worthy of your highest potential, creating unshakable self-belief. At the core of mental toughness lies unshakable self-belief, the deep conviction that you possess the capacity to achieve your goals despite any obstacle. This belief is not arrogance or blind optimism, but a reasoned confidence based on self-acknowledge and a commitment to continuous growth. Without self-belief, talent goes unused, opportunities go unseized, and potential remains unrealized. Self-belief creates a powerful cycle of achievement. When you believe in your abilities, you take on greater challenges. As you overcome these challenges, your self-belief strengthens, enabling you to tackle even greater obstacles. This upward spiral of confidence and capability is the hallmark of mentally tough individuals who consistently outperform their peers. Why is self-belief so critical to mental toughness? Because your actions will never rise above the limitations of your self-concept. The greatest barrier to achievement is not external competition or circumstances, but internal doubt. Those who believe they can and those who believe they cannot are both right. Your belief system creates a ceiling on your accomplishments or removes it entirely. The remarkable power of self-belief lies in its ability to activate your creative faculty. When you wholeheartedly believe a goal is attainable, your mind naturally begins generating ideas and solutions to make it reality. Problems that seem insurmountable to the doubtful mind become interesting challenges to the mind empowered by self-belief. How do you develop this unshakable self-belief? First, recognize that belief is a choice. You can choose to believe in your capacity for growth and achievement, regardless of past experiences or current circumstances. This choice becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Next, actively reshape your self-concept through deliberate mental management. Monitor your self-talk rigorously, challenging and replacing thoughts of limitation with thoughts of possibility and capability. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you deeply respect and believe in. Remember that your subconscious mind accepts the messages you repeatedly send it, whether positive or negative. Systematically build evidence that supports your self-belief through progressive achievement. Set small, achievable goals that stretch your abilities slightly, then consistently meet them. Each success, however modest, becomes proof of your capability and fuel for greater confidence. Through this process, self-belief ceases to be merely positive thinking and becomes grounded in demonstrated ability. Roger Bannister, who broke the 4-minute mile barrier at a time when medical experts insisted it was physically impossible. Bannister first had to overcome the psychological barrier, the collective belief that the human body could not perform this feat. His achievement immediately unleashed a wave of other sub-4-minute miles, proving that the primary limitation had been mental, not physical. Mary Kay Ash, who founded her cosmetics company after facing gender discrimination in the corporate world, her unshakable self-belief not only fueled her success, but inspired thousands of women to develop confidence in their own capabilities. Remember that self-belief is not static, but requires regular reinforcement. Surround yourself with people who believe in you and your vision. Study the biographies of those who have overcome significant obstacles to achieve similar goals to yours. Collect and review evidence of your past successes, especially during periods of doubt or difficulty. Equally important, prepare your self-belief to withstand inevitable setbacks. Mentally tough individuals don't expect continuous, uninterrupted progress. They anticipate obstacles and prepare for them. When challenges arise, they view them not as evidence of personal inadequacy, but as natural parts of any meaningful journey. This perspective preserves self-belief during difficult periods. As your self-belief grows stronger, you'll notice profound changes in your approach to challenges. You'll take more calculated risks, you'll persist longer in the face of difficulties, you'll recover more quickly from setbacks. The mastermind principle. There exists a principle of success so powerful that virtually every great achievement in history bears its mark. This principle multiplies your mental capacity, extends your reach, and accelerates your progress toward any worthy goal. It is the mastermind principle, the coordinated effort of two or more minds working in perfect harmony toward a definite purpose. The mastermind principle recognizes a fundamental truth that certain achievements lie beyond the capacity of any single mind, no matter how brilliant or determined. When minds unite in harmony, they create a third, invisible force, a mastermind that is greater than the sum of its parts. This combined intelligence can solve problems, identify opportunities, and create solutions that would remain inaccessible to its individual members acting alone. Why is the mastermind essential to developing mental toughness? Because it provides resources that amplify your individual capabilities. In moments when your own mental strength wavers, the collective wisdom and encouragement of your mastermind alliance sustains you. When you face complex challenges, the diverse perspectives within your alliance reveal solutions invisible from a single viewpoint. When temporary defeat threatens your progress, the combined determination of your alliance carries you forward. The mastermind operates on two distinct levels. On the practical level, it gives you access to knowledge, skills, connections, and resources beyond your personal inventory. On the psychic or spiritual level, it creates a mysterious amplification manifestation of mental power that participants often describe as inspiration or insight, ideas seeming to appear from nowhere, yet perfectly suited to the challenge at hand. How do you create an effective mastermind alliance? Begin by selecting members with extreme care. Look for individuals who share your commitment to growth, but bring different strengths and perspectives. Ensure they possess positive mental attitudes, as negativity within a mastermind can poison its effectiveness. Most importantly, choose those who genuinely support your success rather than those who secretly envy or resent it. Establish clear guidelines for your mastermind meetings. Set a regular schedule and maintain it religiously. Create an environment of absolute candor where truth can be spoken without fear of offense. Remember that harmony, not mere agreement, is the essential quality that makes a mastermind effective. Mastermind Alliance formed between Henry Ford and Thomas Edison, two of the greatest innovators of their era. Though their areas of expertise differed significantly, their alliance provided each with insights, encouragement, and inspiration that contributed to their respective achievements. Ford often credited his discussions with Edison as pivotal to his development of mass production techniques. Or look at the remarkable results produced by the Mastermind Alliance of Orville and Wilbur Wright. These brothers combined their mechanical genius and methodical approach to solve the seemingly insurmountable challenge of human flight. Their perfect harmony of purpose and complementary skills enabled them to succeed where better funded and more credentialed competitors failed. The mastermind principle extends beyond formal alliances. Every productive relationship contains elements of this principle. The harmony between spouses can create a domestic mastermind that supports achievement in all areas of life. The synergy between business partners can produce innovations neither would have conceived independently. As you implement the mastermind principle, be prepared to contribute as much as you receive. The most productive alliances are those in which each member gives their best thinking, their sincere encouragement, and their unflagging commitment to the group's success. Approach each mastermind session with thoroughly prepared thoughts and a genuine desire to advance the success of every member. Remember that the mastermind principle multiplies mental toughness across its participants. When you feel your resolve weakening, your alliance members can reinforce it. When they face moments of doubt, your conviction can sustain them. This mutual reinforcement creates a resilience that enables all members to persist through challenges that would defeat them individually. The very essence of mental toughness applied collectively. Turning failure into stepping stones. The path to any significant achievement is never a straight line. It winds through valleys of disappointment, across plains of frustration, and over mountains of temporary defeat. What separates the mentally tough from the mentally fragile is not the absence of failure, but the response to it. Where others see terminal defeat, the mentally tough see temporary setbacks. Where others see reasons to quit, the mentally tough find lessons to apply. Failure, properly understood, is not the opposite of success, but an integral component of it. Every notable achievement in human history emerged from a series of failures that provided essential feedback, forced innovation, and tested the commitment of the achiever. Remove failure from the equation, and you remove the very mechanism that makes success possible. Why is this perspective on failure essential to mental toughness? Because without it, you will inevitably abandon your most important goals when faced with initial setbacks. The emotionally immature see failure as evidence of personal inadequacy, rather than as a natural part of any worthwhile endeavor. This misinterpretation leads to shame, discouragement, and ultimately, surrender. The mentally tough, by contrast, recognize failure as valuable information, feedback that indicates necessary adjustments rather than reasons for abandonment. How do you transform your relationship with failure? Begin by separating the outcome from your identity. When an effort fails, it does not mean you are a failure. It simply means your current approach requires modification. This distinction preserves your confidence while allowing you to learn from the experience. Next, train yourself to ask empowering questions in the face of setbacks. Instead of, "Why does this always happen to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this that will improve my next attempt?" Instead of, "What's wrong with me?" ask, "What adjustments would make success more likely?" These questions redirect your mental energy from unproductive self-pity to constructive problem-solving. Develop the habit of conducting failure analysis rather than dwelling in failure emotion. After any setback, systematically examine what went wrong, what went right, what you would do differently next time, and what unexpected factors influenced the outcome. This analytical approach extracts maximum value from the experience while minimizing unproductive emotional reactions. Abraham Lincoln, whose path to the presidency was littered with what others would consider devastating failures. He lost 8 elections, failed in business twice, and suffered a nervous breakdown before achieving the presidency. Each setback taught him valuable lessons about politics, persuasion, and perseverance that proved essential to his later effectiveness as president during America's greatest crisis. Remember also that failure often prepares you for opportunities you could not otherwise recognize or capitalize upon. The skills developed, the insights gained, and the resilience built through failure create readiness for success that cannot be acquired through easy victories. What appears to be a detour often becomes the very path to your destination. As you strengthen your mental toughness, deliberately seek challenges that include significant risk of failure. Start small if necessary, but intentionally place yourself in situations where failure is possible. Each failure overcome builds your capacity to attempt more significant challenges. Each lesson learned increases your probability of subsequent success. Most importantly, remember that your most painful failures often contain your most valuable lessons. The speaker's poorly received presentation reveals weaknesses in delivery that, once addressed, transform them into a compelling communicator. The athlete's loss exposes conditioning deficiencies that, once corrected, lead to championship performances. In developing mental toughness, commit yourself to this transformative perspective. There is no failure, only feedback. No defeat, only delay. No insurmountable obstacle, only ineffective approach. With this mindset, every setback becomes a setup for unprecedented growth and achievement. Cultivating unwavering focus. In a world designed to fracture your attention and scatter your energy, the ability to maintain unwavering focus has become one of the rarest and most valuable forms of mental toughness. This power of concentration, directing the full force of your mental faculties toward a single objective, separates those who merely dream from those who achieve. Focus acts as a mental laser, concentrating your intellectual and creative energy on your highest priorities. Without this concentration, your efforts dissipate across too many targets, producing mediocre results in many areas rather than extraordinary results in your chosen field. Mental toughness requires the discipline to say no to the merely good so you can say yes to the truly great. Why is unwavering focus so essential to mental toughness? Because achievement in any worthwhile endeavor requires sustained effort over time. The mind that jumps from goal to goal accomplishes little of significance. The mind that remains fixed on a worthy objective, despite temptations and distractions, invariably produces remarkable results. Focus transforms sporadic effort into accumulated power, the difference between a scattered shower and a mighty river carving through stone. The benefits of focus extend beyond efficiency. When you train your mind to concentrate deeply, you access levels of creativity and insight unavailable to the scattered thinker. Solutions to complex problems emerge. Connections between seemingly unrelated ideas appear. Breakthroughs occur not through frantic activity, but through sustained attention to the essential. Next, develop rituals that protect your focus time. Schedule uninterrupted blocks for your most important work. During these periods, create physical environments that minimize distractions. Train those around you to respect these focus periods as inviolable. These boundaries may seem selfish to the unfocused mind, but are essential for significant achievement. Practice progressive training of your concentration abilities. Like physical strength, mental focus develops through consistent exercise. Begin with shorter periods of complete concentration, then gradually extend them. When your mind inevitably wanders, gently but firmly return it to the task at hand. Each time you do this, you strengthen your focusing muscles. Margaret Thatcher, who was renowned for her ability to master complex policy details while maintaining unwavering attention to her core objectives, Her political opponents often found themselves outmatched, not because they lacked intelligence, but because they lacked her sustained mental discipline and clarity of purpose. Remember that focus requires not just external management of distractions, but internal management of your thought patterns. The mentally tough mind consistently redirects itself from unproductive worry about the past or anxiety about the future back to the present moment, the only point at which effective action is possible. This practice of present moment awareness amplifies your effectiveness in whatever activity you're engaged in. As you develop unwavering focus, you'll notice that time seems to expand. You accomplish more in fewer hours because your efficiency increases dramatically. Tasks that once required days are completed in hours. Problems that seemed intractable yield to your sustained attention. This compression of achievement time is one of the greatest rewards of mental toughness. Focus also provides immunity against the constant comparison that weakens lesser minds. When you're fully engaged with your own path, the achievements or opinions of others lose their power to distract or discourage you. This liberation from social comparison is perhaps the most underrated benefit of unwavering focus, a form of freedom that amplifies both achievement and contentment. As you strengthen your capacity for sustained focus, approach it not as deprivation, but as a form of abundance. The focused life is richer, deeper, and more satisfying than the scattered existence that surrounds it. In choosing what deserves your attention and consistently giving it your best mental energy, you develop a form of mental toughness that makes extraordinary achievement not just possible, but inevitable, developing emotional control. The truest measure of mental toughness is not found during periods of ease and comfort, but in moments of crisis, challenge, and adversity. In these defining moments, your emotional response determines whether circumstances control you or you control your response to circumstances. Emotional control, the ability to maintain productive emotional states, regardless of external conditions, is the cornerstone of unshakable mental toughness. Emotional control does not mean suppressing or denying your feelings. Rather, it means developing the capacity to experience emotions without being dominated by them, to feel fear without being paralyzed by it, to experience disappointment without being defined by it, to face uncertainty without being overwhelmed by it. This emotional intelligence transforms potential breaking points into breakthrough opportunities. Why is emotional control so vital to mental toughness? Because your emotions, more than any external circumstance, determine the quality of your decisions and actions. When emotions run unchecked, even the most brilliant minds make poor choices. Conversely, when emotions are channeled constructively, even ordinary intelligence produces extraordinary results. The mentally tough understand a fundamental truth. While you cannot always control what happens to you, you maintain absolute control over how you interpret and respond to what happens. This distinction becomes your source of power in the face of adversity. External events lose their ability to dictate your emotional state when you take responsibility for your internal responses. How do you develop this crucial emotional control? Start by practicing emotional awareness, the ability to recognize and name your feelings as they arise. Many people operate on emotional autopilot, unaware of how their feelings influence their behavior. By developing the habit of emotional self-observation, you create space between stimulus and response, space in which you can choose rather than merely react. Next, master the art of reframing, consciously choosing more empowering interpretations of challenging events. When faced with a setback, the undisciplined mind automatically defaults to negative framing. This is terrible. Everything is ruined. The mentally tough mind deliberately reframes. This is a temporary obstacle. What opportunities might it contain? How can I use this situation to grow stronger? Your physical state profoundly influences your emotional experience. Simple practices like controlled breathing, proper posture, facial expression management, and strategic movement can rapidly shift your emotional state from negative to neutral or positive. These physical interventions provide immediate relief during emotional storms. Nelson Mandela, during his 27 years of imprisonment, rather than allowing bitterness and hatred to consume him, he consciously cultivated forgiveness and compassion, emotional states that would later enable him to lead his nation toward reconciliation rather than revenge. His emotional discipline transformed personal suffering into national healing. Eleanor Roosevelt, who transformed the traditionally passive role of First Lady through her emotional resilience, she channeled her personal struggles with shyness and insecurity into empathy for the vulnerable, refusing to let negative emotions limit her impact. Her famous guidance to do one thing every day that scares you exemplifies the mentally tough approach to emotion, using fear as a compass pointing toward growth rather than as a barrier to action. Use daily annoyances, traffic delays, technological failures, interpersonal frictions as opportunities to strengthen your emotional muscles. Each time you respond constructively rather than reactively to these small challenges, you build capacity for emotional mastery during life's inevitable larger tests. As you develop emotional control, pay special attention to your response to failure and criticism. The mentally tough individual experiences natural disappointment when falling short, but quickly transitions to constructive analysis and renewed determination. Similarly, they listen to criticism for potentially valuable feedback while refusing to let it diminish their self-worth or derail their purpose. Emotional control also involves strategic use of positive emotions to fuel performance and resilience. Deliberately cultivate gratitude, confidence, determination, and enthusiasm through visualization, affirmation, and selective focus on empowering aspects of your experience. These positive emotional states provide energy and creativity that accelerate progress toward your goals. The ultimate test of emotional control is maintaining equilibrium during success as well as failure. True mental toughness includes the wisdom to maintain hunger, humility, and drive even when experiencing significant success. As you strengthen your emotional control, you'll discover that this skill transforms not just your achievements, but your entire experience of life. Problems that once seemed overwhelming become manageable. Relationships that were once volatile become constructive. Your inner world becomes a source of power rather than a source of limitation, the essence of unstoppable mental toughness, the habit of persistence. Among all the qualities that constitute mental toughness, none has greater power to ensure ultimate success than persistence, the determination to continue taking constructive action despite repeated setbacks, apparent failure, or a lack of visible progress. This quality transforms average individuals into achievers, converts obstacles into opportunities, and turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Persistence stands as the great equalizer in human achievement. It enables those with modest talents to outperform those with superior abilities but inferior determination. It transforms mediocre methods applied consistently into remarkable results. Why is persistence so fundamental to mental toughness? Because virtually every worthwhile achievement requires a period of sustained effort without immediate reward. The mentally weak abandon their goals when progress slows, resistance increases, or results fail to materialize quickly. The mentally tough understand that these challenging periods are not signs of failure, but necessary phases in any significant accomplishment. Tests that eliminate the casual aspirant, but qualify the committed achiever. The power of persistence lies in its compounding effect. Each small action, each consistent effort, each refusal to surrender adds to the momentum of your progress. Like water wearing away stone, persistence overcomes apparently immovable obstacles not through overwhelming force, but through consistent application of focused effort over time. How do you develop this habit of persistence? Begin by recognizing that persistence is not merely continuing to do the same thing regardless of results. True persistence includes intelligence and adaptability. When one approach proves ineffective, the mentally tough adjust their methods while maintaining commitment to their ultimate objective. Next, establish persistence triggers, predetermined responses to the inevitable moments of doubt, frustration, or apparent failure. Decide in advance how you will react when tempted to quit. Create specific phrases, visualizations, or actions that reconnect you with your purpose and strengthen your resolve. These triggers, activated at crucial moments, prevent temporary emotions from derailing permanent goals. Study the relationship between persistence and time. Many abandon worthy pursuits just steps from success because they lack accurate expectations about the time required for achievement. Develop realistic time frames for your goals, understanding that significant accomplishments often take longer than initially anticipated. This realistic perspective prevents the discouragement that leads to premature surrender. Winston Churchill, throughout his life, and particularly during Britain's darkest hour in World War II, faced with seemingly insurmountable odds against Nazi Germany, he refused to consider surrender as an option. His unwavering determination not only sustained his nation's resistance, but inspired a generation to persist against overwhelming force. You must learn to continue taking productive action even when you don't feel motivated, inspired, or confident. The mentally tough establish systems and routines that ensure progress regardless of emotional state. They understand that waiting for positive feelings before taking action is a recipe for inconsistency and ultimate failure. As you strengthen your persistence, develop the habit of celebrating small wins along the path to larger achievements. Acknowledge your progress, however modest it may seem. These celebrations provide emotional fuel for continued effort and prevent the discouragement that comes from focusing exclusively on how far you still have to go rather than how far you've already come. Persistence also requires selective ignorance of discouraging voices, both external and internal. Not everyone will believe in your vision or support your journey. Some will actively discourage you, predicting failure or suggesting you're wasting your time. The mentally tough develop the ability to listen respectfully but remain unmoved by such opinions, keeping their attention fixed on their definite purpose. The highest form of persistence combines determination with faith, the unshakable belief that your efforts will eventually produce the desired outcome, even when evidence is lacking. This faith is not blind optimism, but a reasoned confidence based on universal principles of cause and effect. You understand that persistent, intelligent action toward a worthy goal cannot fail to produce results, even if the form or timing of those results differs from your initial expectation. As you develop the habit of persistence, you'll discover that it transforms not just your achievements, but your character. You become more resilient, more resourceful, and more confident, qualities that attract opportunities and support that further accelerate your progress. Persistence is both the path to your goals and a destination worth reaching in itself. Develop positive mental attitude. At the foundation of all mental toughness lies a quality so fundamental, yet so powerful that it determines the effectiveness of every other mental strategy: your attitude. A positive mental attitude. The habit of finding opportunity in every difficulty and focusing on constructive possibilities rather than limitations acts as the operating system for mental toughness, enabling or disabling all other mental functions. Your mental attitude shapes your perception of reality. Two people can face identical circumstances yet experience them entirely differently based on their attitudes. The negative mind finds problems, obstacles, and reasons for failure. The positive mind discovers solutions, pathways, and reasons for success. This difference in perception leads directly to dramatically different results. Why is a positive mental attitude essential to mental toughness? Because the challenges that require mental toughness also generate powerful reasons for negativity, doubt, and fear. Without a disciplined commitment to maintaining positivity, these negative emotions overwhelm your mental resources, cloud your judgment, and diminish your effectiveness. A positive mental attitude doesn't eliminate problems. It creates the mental environment in which problems can be solved. The remarkable power of attitude lies in its ripple effect throughout your life. When you maintain positivity, you attract positive people and circumstances while repelling negative ones. Your creativity increases, your energy expands, and your resilience strengthens. These effects compound over time, creating an upward spiral of achievement and opportunity that appears magical to those who don't understand its source. How do you develop and maintain this positive mental attitude? Begin by accepting complete responsibility for your mental state. Recognize that your attitude is not determined by circumstances, but by your response to circumstances. This fundamental shift from external to internal control, places the power to shape your mental environment firmly in your hands. Next, implement daily practices that cultivate positivity. Start each morning with purposeful exposure to positive, empowering ideas through reading, listening, or viewing content that elevates your thinking. This deliberate mental consumption creates a protective shield against the negativity that bombards most people throughout their day. Practice rigorous thought selection throughout your day. Monitor your internal dialogue, challenging and replacing negative thoughts with constructive alternatives. Remember that you become what you think about most of the time. By consciously directing your thoughts toward possibilities rather than problems, solutions rather than obstacles, you develop the mental habit of positivity. Helen Keller, who faced the extraordinary challenges of being both deaf and blind from early childhood, rather than allowing these physical limitations to determine her mental attitude, she chose to focus on what she could do rather than what she couldn't. This positive mental attitude enabled her to become an author, political activist, and one of the most inspiring figures of the 20th century. Remember that maintaining a positive mental attitude requires environmental management as well as internal discipline. Deliberately limit your exposure to the chronic negativity that dominates news media, certain social circles, and many workplaces. Surround yourself instead with individuals who maintain their own positive outlook and who support your commitment to constructive thinking. As you strengthen your positive mental attitude, pay special attention to your language pattern. The words you speak reinforce the thoughts you think. Eliminate phrases like, "I can't," "It's impossible," or "That never works for me." Replace them with empowering alternatives. "Let me find a way," "I'll figure this out," or "I'm improving with every attempt." This verbal discipline reshapes your underlying thought pattern. Develop the habit of finding the beneficial aspect of every situation, no matter how challenging. Train yourself to ask, "What's good about this?" or "How can I use this?" when faced with apparent setbacks. This mental reflex transforms potential defeats into stepping stones toward your goals. The mentally tough don't deny difficulties, they simply refuse to be defined by them. The highest form of positive mental attitude includes gratitude as a core component. Regular, specific appreciation for the blessings in your life, both large and small, creates a psychological foundation that supports optimism, resilience, and determination. This grateful perspective prevents the entitlement and dissatisfaction that undermine achievement and happiness. As you develop your positive mental attitude, you'll discover that it becomes not just a strategy for success, but a way of experiencing life. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming become interesting problems to solve. Setbacks that once provoked despair become valuable lessons. Your entire existence takes on a quality of confident expectation that attracts both success and fulfillment, the ultimate manifestation of mental toughness. Overcoming fear and doubt. Fear and doubt stand as the greatest enemies of mental toughness and achievement. These twin saboteurs have prevented more potential success than all other obstacles combined. They paralyze action, cloud judgment, and drain the vital energy required for exceptional performance. Yet, within the challenge of overcoming fear and doubt lies the opportunity to develop extraordinary mental toughness. Fear appears in countless disguises: fear of failure, fear of success, fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of the unknown. Regardless of its specific form, all fear produces the same detrimental effect. It causes you to hesitate when you should act, to retreat when you should advance, to doubt when you should believe. Left unchecked, fear becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, creating the very failures it predicted. Why is overcoming fear and doubt essential to mental toughness? Because every significant achievement requires venturing into unknown territory, where uncertainty naturally triggers these emotions. If you can only function at your best when fear and doubt are absent, your potential remains severely limited. The mentally tough aren't fearless. They act despite their fears, gradually developing immunity to the paralysis these emotions typically cause. The remarkable truth about fear is that it diminishes only through direct confrontation. Running from fear strengthens it. Facing fear weakens its grip and builds your confidence. Each time you act despite fear, you prove to yourself that fear need not control your choices. This growing self-trust becomes a foundation of mental toughness that supports increasingly bold action. How do you systematically overcome fear and doubt? Begin by identifying your specific fears with unflinching honesty. Vague, unnamed fears exert greater power than those you clearly identify. By naming your fears precisely, I'm afraid of looking foolish. I'm afraid I lack the ability. I'm afraid of financial insecurity. You transform shadowy anxieties into specific concerns that can be addressed rationally. Next, separate legitimate caution from irrational fear. The mentally tough don't ignore genuine risks or dangers. They assess them realistically while refusing to magnify them emotionally. Ask yourself, what's the actual worst that could happen? How likely is that outcome? What resources do I have to handle it? This analytical approach diffuses the emotional charge that makes fear so debilitating. Develop the habit of taking immediate action when fear arises. The longer you hesitate, the stronger fear becomes. When you notice fear or doubt emerging, identify one small step you can take immediately that moves you forward despite the discomfort. This practice of fear-concurrent action, rather than waiting for fear-free action, distinguishes the mentally tough from the average. Franklin D. Roosevelt, who faced not only the paralysis of his body due to polio, but also the task of leading a nation through the Great Depression and World War II, his famous declaration that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, wasn't merely rhetoric, but a principle he applied personally. By confronting rather than avoiding fearful situations, he developed the extraordinary mental toughness his challenges required. Remember that doubt, while related to fear, requires its own strategies. Where fear is emotional, doubt is often intellectual. Questioning your capabilities, your methods, or your potential for success, counter doubt with evidence. Documented proof of past successes, examples of others who have overcome similar obstacles, or small initial achievements that demonstrate progress toward your larger goal. As you strengthen your ability to act despite fear and doubt, develop the practice of what-if-up thinking. Most people habitually engage in what-if-down thinking. Imagining all the ways things might go wrong, the mentally tough deliberately practice the opposite, regularly asking, what if this succeeds beyond my expectations? What if the perfect resources appear at the perfect time? What if this apparent obstacle contains an unexpected opportunity? This positive speculation generates creative solutions and emotional fuel for action. Fear and doubt often disguise themselves as rational concerns or practical thinking. Learn to distinguish between genuine prudence and fear masquerading as caution. The key difference lies in the underlying emotional tone in the resulting behavior. True prudence leads to calculated risk-taking and strategic action. Disguised fear leads to endless analysis, repeated delay, and eventual abandonment of worthwhile goals. The highest form of victory over fear and doubt comes not from their complete absence, but from your proven ability to function powerfully in their presence. The mentally tough experience the same initial fear responses as others, but have developed the habit of acting anyway. This practiced response eventually transforms fear from a barrier into a signpost, an indicator that you're moving in the direction of growth and meaningful achievement. As you develop this crucial aspect of mental toughness, you'll experience a profound shift in your relationship with uncertainty. What once triggered anxiety now sparks curiosity. What once prompted retreat now invites exploration. Your expanding comfort with discomfort becomes a competitive advantage in every area of life. The mark of someone who has transformed fear and doubt from masters into servants. Setting goals that inspire action. Mental toughness without direction produces nothing of value. It is the combination of unwavering determination with clearly defined objectives that produces extraordinary achievement. Goal setting, the art and science of defining worthy targets and developing effective plans to reach them, transforms mental toughness from potential energy into powerful. Proper goals work as psychological magnets, pulling you forward through obstacles, setbacks, and periods of low motivation. They convert vague wishes into to define targets, transform daydreams into blueprints, and replace aimless activity with purposeful progress. While the average person drifts through life responding to whatever demands attention, the mentally tough move deliberately toward objectives they have consciously selected. Why is effective goal setting so essential to mental toughness? Because mental toughness requires sustained effort toward meaningful objectives, and human beings cannot maintain such effort without clarity about what they're working toward and why it matters. Vague aspirations produce half-hearted efforts. Precisely defined goals with deep personal significance generate the consistent energy that mental toughness requires. The science of achievement has revealed that the way you formulate your goals dramatically impacts your probability of success. Goals that inspire action share specific characteristics. They are definite rather than vague, challenging yet attainable, measurable rather than abstract, time-bound rather than open-ended. How do you set goals that activate your highest potential? Begin by distinguishing between ends and means. True goals represent outcomes you genuinely desire for their own sake, not merely as stepping stones to something else. By identifying these authentic ends, you tap into sources of motivation that remain powerful even when external rewards or recognition are delayed or absent. Next, apply the principle of written clarity. Goals that remain merely in thought lack the precision and permanence required for sustained action. Commit your goals to writing with exact language that eliminates ambiguity. Describe not just what you intend to achieve, but when, where, and how you'll achieve it. This written clarity prevents the subtle goal shifting that undermines commitment when difficulties arise. Fully implement the practice of progressive goal setting, establishing intermediate milestones that break ambitious long-term objectives into manageable steps. These interim targets provide regular experiences of achievement that fuel continued action. Without these periodic successes, even the mentally tough can lose momentum during extended pursuits, where final outcomes remain distant. John F. Kennedy in mobilizing America's space program. Rather than announcing a vague intention to advance space exploration, he declared a specific time-bound objective, landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth before the decade is out. This precise formulation catalyzed unprecedented innovation and effort, resulting in one of humanity's greatest achievements. Remember that effective goals engage both analytical and emotional faculties. The mentally tough recognize that logical benefits alone rarely sustain motivation through difficult challenges. Identify the deeper personal meaning behind your objectives, how their achievement connects to your values, identity, and vision for your life. This emotional dimension transforms goals from things you should do into endeavors you're pulled toward by desire. As you develop your goal-setting practice, master the balance between ambition and realism. Goals set too low fail to inspire your best effort. Goals set beyond the remotely possible lead to frustration and abandonment. The sweet spot lies in objectives that stretch your capabilities while remaining within the boundaries of potential achievement given sufficient effort, learning, and persistence. State them positively, what you will do, rather than negatively, what you'll avoid. Phrase them in the present or past tense, I am achieving, or I have achieved, rather than the future tense, which subconsciously pushes achievement into an indefinite someday. These linguistic choices program your subconscious mind for success rather than perpetual pursuit. The highest form of goal setting includes the practice of embodiment, living as if your goals were already achieved. This means adopting the thoughts, language, habits, and behaviors of your future self, who has already reached the objectives you're pursuing. This practice bridges the gap between current reality and desired outcome, making achievement a natural expression of who you're becoming, rather than something you're straining to attain. As you strengthen your goal-setting practices, you'll discover that clear objectives don't restrict your freedom, but enhance it. They provide the focus that eliminates wasted effort, the clarity that speeds decision-making, and the meaning that sustains motivation. Your mental toughness, directed toward worthy and well-defined goals, becomes an unstoppable force for creating the life and achievements you desire. Develop the power of visualization. Behind every great achievement lies a mental blueprint, a clear, detailed vision of the desired outcome that existed in the achiever's mind before it manifested in physical reality. Visualization The deliberate practice of mentally rehearsing successful performance and desired outcomes stands as one of the most powerful yet underutilized tools for developing unstoppable mental toughness. Visualization works because your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and an actual one. When you consistently visualize successful outcomes and flawless performance, you create neural patterns identical to those produced by physical practice. This mental rehearsal builds confidence, improves performance, and programs your reticular activating system to recognize opportunities that support your vision. Why is visualization so essential to mental toughness? Because it creates a compelling internal reality that can sustain you when external circumstances appear discouraging. When temporary setbacks or obstacles arise, the mentally tough don't lose sight of their vision. The remarkable power of visualization has been scientifically verified across multiple domains. Studies with athletes have demonstrated that mental practice produces performance improvements nearly equal to physical practice, and when combined, the results are superior to either approach alone. Similar effects have been documented in public speaking, surgical performance, musical mastery, and virtually every field requiring skilled execution under pressure. How do you develop effective visualization practices? Begin by creating ideal conditions for deep mental immersion. Find a quiet, comfortable space where you won't be disturbed. Adopt a relaxed but alert posture that prevents both tension and drowsiness. Close your eyes and engage in several minutes of controlled breathing to quiet your mind and enhance receptivity to the images you'll create. Next, construct multi-sensory mental experiences rather than mere pictures. Effective visualization engages all your senses: seeing, hearing, feeling, and sometimes even tasting and smelling. The more sensory channels you involve, the more real the experience becomes to your nervous system, and the greater its impact on your performance and confidence. Outcome visualization involves seeing yourself having already achieved your goal, experiencing the satisfaction and benefits of success. Process visualization involves mentally rehearsing the specific actions, techniques, and strategies that lead to that success. Both are essential. Outcome visualization provides motivation, while process visualization improves execution. Jack Nicklaus, who described his approach this way, "I never hit a shot, not even in practice, without having a very sharp, in-focus picture of it in my head. Before each shot, he would visualize not just the ball's flight, but its landing and roll, creating a complete mental movie of success. This disciplined mental rehearsal contributed significantly to his unparalleled record of major championship victories." Remember that effective visualization includes emotional content as well as sensory detail. Feel the satisfaction of achievement, the pride in overcoming obstacles, the joy of reaching your goals. These emotions create biochemical changes in your body that reinforce the neural patterns you're establishing. The combination of vivid imagery and authentic emotion accelerates the manifestation of your vision. Deliberately visualizing potential obstacles and then seeing yourself successfully overcoming them. This balanced approach avoids the pitfalls of purely positive visualization by preparing you psychologically for challenges while simultaneously strengthening your confidence in your ability to surmount them. Pay special attention to self-image visualization, regularly seeing yourself as the person you're becoming rather than merely the person you currently are. Mental toughness develops more rapidly when you consistently visualize yourself demonstrating the qualities you wish to embody: courage in the face of fear, persistence despite setbacks, calm under pressure. This visualization gradually aligns your behavior with your ideal self-concept. The highest form of visualization combines detailed mental imagery with deep belief in its eventual manifestation. This is not wishful thinking, but disciplined mental creation based on universal principles. Like an architect's blueprint that precedes physical construction, your mental vision establishes the pattern that your efforts will subsequently build. The clearer and more compelling this blueprint, the more precise and efficient your actions become. Obstacles that once seemed daunting appear as expected steps in a journey you've already rehearsed mentally. Uncertainty that once provoked anxiety now triggers creative adaptation. Your vision becomes not merely a hoped-for future, but an internal reality so compelling that its physical manifestation becomes virtually inevitable, the essence of unstoppable mental toughness. Building physical and mental stamina. Mental toughness cannot exist in isolation from physical capacity. The mind and body function as an integrated system, each influencing and limiting the other. Building stamina, the ability to sustain high-level mental and physical performance over extended periods, is therefore essential to developing truly unstoppable mental toughness. Stamina creates endurance, and endurance often determines outcomes. In virtually every competitive arena, from business to sports to academic achievement, the ultimate victor is rarely the person who starts strongest, but the one who finishes strongest. When others fatigue, lose focus, or surrender to discomfort, the individual with superior stamina maintains peak performance, converting what might have been marginal victory into decisive triumph. The mentally fragile may be capable of brief periods of intense focus or activity, but lack the staying power to see challenging projects through to completion. The mentally tough possess the physical and mental reserves to persist when fatigue, boredom, or frustration would cause others to abandon their pursuit. The remarkable relationship between physical and mental stamina lies in their reciprocal reinforcement. Physical conditioning enhances mental performance by improving oxygen delivery to the brain, optimizing neurochemistry, and building confidence through progressive achievement. Mental discipline similarly enhances physical performance by improving focus, reducing perceived effort, and enabling access to physical reserves typically left untapped. How do you systematically build both physical and mental stamina? Begin with consistent physical training that progressively challenges your cardiovascular system, muscular endurance, and recovery capacity. This doesn't require extreme measures or specialized equipment. Regular walking, running, cycling, swimming, or body weight exercises performed at gradually increasing duration and intensity will produce significant improvements in overall stamina. Reading challenging material without interruption, solving complex problems without shortcuts, or engaging in detailed planning exercises all build mental stamina. Start with shorter periods and gradually extend them, treating mental focus as a muscle that strengthens through progressive overload. Develop the practice of finishing what you start, even in small matters. Mental stamina grows through the habit of completion rather than abandonment. Apply this principle first to modest tasks. Reading a challenging book from cover to cover, completing a home improvement project without leaving loose ends, following through on correspondence or administrative tasks you typically postpone. These small completions build the mental pattern of persistence that supports larger achievements. Theodore Roosevelt throughout his life. Despite severe asthma and physical frailty in his youth, he systematically built his physical capacity through dedicated daily exercise. This physical transformation supported his legendary mental energy and productivity, leading expeditions, writing dozens of books, and serving as police commissioner, governor, vice president, and president with unstoppable drive and focus. The brain consumes approximately 20% of the body's energy despite representing only 2% of its weight. Fueling this energy-intensive organ with high-quality nutrition, adequate protein, healthy fats, complex carbohydrates, and micronutrients creates the biochemical foundation for mental endurance. Similarly, proper hydration directly impacts cognitive function, with even mild dehydration significantly impairing mental performance. As you build your stamina, pay special attention to recovery practices. The mentally tough understand that strategic rest enhances rather than diminishes performance. Implement disciplined sleep habits, recognizing that quality sleep consolidates learning, restores mental energy, and optimizes decision-making capacity. Include brief renewal breaks throughout your day, short periods of mental disengagement that prevent the cumulative fatigue that leads to diminished performance. Develop the skill of energy management alongside time management. The mentally tough recognize that hours worked matter less than energy brought to those hours. Identify your natural energy cycles and schedule your most demanding tasks during periods of peak mental alertness. The highest form of stamina development integrates body, mind, and spirit into a unified system of sustained excellence. excellence. This integration includes attention to purpose and meaning, the why behind your efforts, which provides emotional and spiritual energy when physical and mental resources are depleted. The stamina to continue in the face of adversity often comes from connection to a purpose larger than personal comfort or convenience. As you strengthen your physical and mental stamina, you'll experience a profound expansion of what you believe possible. Tasks that once exhausted you become merely warming exercises. Projects that once seemed overwhelming become interesting challenges. Your capacity for sustained, focused effort, the hallmark of mental toughness, grows continuously, enabling achievements that remain inaccessible to those lacking similar endurance. Creating a success consciousness. Beneath visible behaviors and measurable results lies the true determinant of achievement, your consciousness. The sum total of your beliefs, expectations, and assumptions about yourself and the world. Your consciousness functions as a filter through which you perceive reality. Two people facing identical circumstances will notice entirely different details, interpret events differently, and take different actions based solely on their underlying consciousness. The person with a failure consciousness sees obstacles as confirmation that success is impossible. The person with a success consciousness sees those same obstacles as evidence they're on the right path, as worthwhile goals naturally present challenges. Why is consciousness so essential to mental toughness? Because it operates largely below the threshold of awareness, automatically directing your attention, influencing your emotions, and shaping your decisions without conscious intervention. Without deliberately cultivating a success consciousness, even the most disciplined efforts at mental toughness will be undermined by subconscious patterns oriented toward limitation rather than possibility. The remarkable power of consciousness lies in its self-reinforcing nature. Your consciousness determines what you notice in your environment, and what you notice reinforces your consciousness. By deliberately directing this process, you can transform a consciousness of scarcity and struggle into one of abundance and achievement. How do you create this success consciousness? Begin by recognizing that consciousness emerges from habitual thought patterns. Just as physical health results from consistent nutritional and exercise habits, your mental state results from what you repeatedly feed your mind and the mental exercises you practice daily. This recognition places the development of your consciousness firmly under your control. Next, implement the practice of consciousness observation, becoming aware of your automatic thought patterns without judgment or resistance. Notice when your mind defaults to limitation, impossibility, or scarcity. This awareness itself begins to loosen the grip of these patterns, creating space for new, more empowering thoughts to take root. Develop the habit of consciousness redirection, deliberately shifting your attention from limitations to possibilities, from problems to solutions, from what's wrong to what's right. This practice doesn't deny difficulties, but refuses to dwell on them beyond what's necessary for effective problem solving. Andrew Carnegie, who rose from impoverished immigrant to become one of the wealthiest industrialists in American history. Despite his humble beginnings, he developed a consciousness of unlimited possibility, famously stating, "Any idea that is held in the mind, that is emphasized, that is either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate physical forms available." His success consciousness manifested in industrial achievements others considered impossible. Remember that your success consciousness is heavily influenced by your personal reference group, the people with whom you spend most time. Consciousness patterns are contagious, transmitted through conversation, attitude, and example. Deliberately seek the company of individuals who maintain their own success consciousness, whose mindset elevates rather than diminishes your sense of possibility. As you develop your success consciousness, pay special attention to your language patterns, both in speech and thought. Words like can't, impossible, never, and too difficult reinforce a limitation consciousness. Replace them with language that opens possibilities. How can I? What would make this possible? Implement the practice of consciousness priming, deliberately exposing yourself to ideas, examples, and environments that reinforce success patterns. Study the lives of individuals who have achieved similar goals to yours. Read books that expand your sense of possibility. Attend events where success-oriented thinking is the norm. These external inputs Gradually recalibrate your internal expectations. The highest form of success consciousness includes not just belief in your own potential, but recognition of the unlimited potential in others. This consciousness sees abundance rather than scarcity, cooperation rather than mere competition, and contribution rather than simple acquisition. It understands that true success emerges not from defeating others, but from creating value that benefits many, a perspective that unlocks opportunities invisible to the scarcity-minded. As you strengthen your success consciousness, you'll experience a profound shift in how you perceive challenges. What once appeared as immovable barriers now register as interesting puzzles to solve. What seemed like evidence of your limitations becomes material for your growth. A self-fulfilling prophecy of the most empowering kind. The art of decisive action. Ideas without action remain forever in the realm of fantasy. Plans without implementation produce no results. The art of decisive action. The ability to move quickly and confidently from thought to implementation separates the mentally tough achiever from the perpetual planner or endless analyzer. This capacity to act decisively, especially in the face of incomplete information or uncertain outcomes, stands as a cornerstone of unstoppable mental toughness. Decisive action creates momentum, and momentum often matters more than perfect strategy. Many who possess exceptional knowledge, brilliant ideas, or sophisticated plans achieve little because they remain trapped in perpetual preparation. The mentally tough understand that imperfect action, consistently applied, typically produces better results than perfect plans indefinitely delayed. Why is decisive action so essential to mental toughness? Because uncertainty and risk accompany every meaningful endeavor. Those who wait for complete certainty or zero risk before taking action ensure their own defeat before beginning, and that action itself produces the learning that no amount of planning can provide. The power of decisive action lies in its compounding effect. Each action taken builds confidence for the next. Each result, whether successful or not, provides information unavailable to the inactive observer. Each implementation creates opportunities for adjustment and improvement that remain invisible until action begins. This cycle of act, learn, adjust accelerates progress far more effectively than extended periods of analysis or preparation. How do you develop this capacity for decisive action? Begin by recognizing analysis paralysis for what it truly is. Not prudence or thoroughness, but fear disguised as caution. Establish clear decision thresholds, the minimum information or certainty required before proceeding. Once these thresholds are met, commit to immediate action, regardless of lingering doubts or the temptation to seek still more information. Next, implement the practice of strategic incompletion, deliberately leaving some aspects of your plan undeveloped until action begins. This approach acknowledges that certain information and opportunities emerge only through implementation, rather than attempting to plan for every contingency in advance. The decisive individual plans thoroughly for what can be known, while remaining flexible about what cannot. Develop the habit of 5-second decisions, committing to immediate action when you feel the initial impulse towards something aligned with your goals. Count backward from 5, then move physically to initiate the action before your mind can generate the excuses and fears that typically prevent forward motion. This practice bypasses the overthinking that kills more dreams than actual obstacles ever do. George Patton during World War II, while other commanders often delayed to gather more intelligence or develop more thorough plans, Patton recognized that rapid, decisive action often creates advantages that outweigh perfect preparation. His philosophy that a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week enabled battlefield victories that more cautious approaches would have missed. Remember that decisive action requires comfort with calculated risk. The mentally tough develop the ability to quickly assess the potential downside of an action, determine if that downside is survivable, and proceed if it is, understanding that the upside potential often vastly outweighs the manageable downside risk. This risk intelligence separates recklessness from the prudent but decisive action that characterizes mental toughness. As you strengthen your capacity for decisive action, implement the practice of immediate corrective adjustments. The decisively mentally tough don't wait to see if a plan might work out eventually when evidence indicates problems. They immediately acknowledge what isn't working and make necessary changes. This willingness to adjust quickly prevents the common trap of persisting with flawed approaches due to emotional attachment to the original decision. Pay special attention to decisive action during periods of opportunity. Certain windows open briefly and close permanently if not entered promptly. The mentally tough develop the perception to recognize these critical moments and the decisiveness to act immediately when they appear. This timing intelligence, knowing not just what to do but when to do it, dramatically increases the effectiveness of your actions. The highest form of decisive action combines promptness with strategic patience, knowing when to act swiftly and when to deliberately delay. This discernment comes not from fear or procrastination, but from strategic awareness of timing factors. The mentally tough move with lightning speed when opportunity or necessity demands it, yet display disciplined restraint when premature action would diminish results. As you develop your capacity for decisive action, you'll experience a profound liberation from the paralysis of overthinking and the burden of perfectionism. You'll accomplish more in months than others achieve in years of planning. Your willingness to act when others hesitate will place you at the front of opportunities while the timid remain in endless preparation. Your mental toughness will express itself not merely in what you can endure, but in what you can initiate, the mark of a true achiever rather than a mere survivor. Develop the unstoppable mental toughness that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Master your mind, endure every challenge, and turn obstacles into triumphs. Build resilience that doesn't just survive pressure, it thrives because of it. Forge the unbreakable strength within you and become the unstoppable force you were destined to be.